see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sex.
This test was particularly interesting as it served as part of the major preparations for the MotoGP regulation changes in the coming years, with many manufacturers experimenting with new engine combinations and different tire suppliers. The presence of Toprak and Miller on the final day of testing sparked much speculation about the performance of the latest bikes. Since the morning, track conditions at Jerez were ideal. Stable temperatures provided the riders with the opportunity to maximize their testing programs. Toprak Razgatlioglu looked very aggressive from the start of the first session. The Turkish rider immediately undertook several long runs to experience the characteristics of the V4 bike, combined with Pirelli tires. Several sources in the paddock reported that Toprak focused on the bike's stability when entering fast corners and traction when exiting corners. The combination of the V4 engine, known for its powerful power, with the different characteristics of the Pirelli tires, made this session crucial for the development team. Meanwhile, Jack Miller was also busy with his testing program. The Australian rider conducted several fast lap simulations to compare the performance of the Pirelli tires with different bike setups. Miller is known as a rider who is very sensitive to tire feel, so his feedback to the technical team was considered invaluable. Interestingly, several lap times recorded during this test session were said to be quite competitive. Although not an official race session, initial data suggests that the combination of the V4 engine and Pirelli tires can deliver quite promising performance on the Jerez track. Technicians were seen working continuously in the pit lane, adjusting the bike suspension, electronics, and weight distribution settings to adapt to the characteristics of the new tires. This is important because each tire supplier has a different construction and working method, requiring adjustments to the bike's setup. For Toprak Razgatlioglu, this test also provided an opportunity to better understand the potential of a bike that could be part of the new era of MotoGP. His aggressive riding style was considered well-suited to exploring the limits of Pirelli tires' performance on the track. Meanwhile, Jack Miller also offered some positive comments regarding the bike's stability under hard braking. He stated that the Pirelli tires provided a different grip sensation, while still allowing riders to attack corners with confidence. The final day of testing at the Circuito de Jerez concluded with the technical team gathering a wealth of valuable data. While it's too early to draw any major conclusions, the initial performance of the V4 bike on Pirelli tires shows exciting potential for future MotoGP development. Here's the full news. The final day of testing at the legendary Circuito de Jerez was one of the most captivating moments for motorcycle racing observers. In the closing session, two riders known for their aggressive and determined riding styles, Toprak Razgatlioglu and Jack Miller, returned to the track for a crucial testing program on a prototype V4 engine motorcycle fitted with Pirelli tires. This test is a crucial part of the development of the next generation of motorcycles projected for the future of MotoGP. Many manufacturers are currently experimenting with new engine configurations and testing different tire characteristics. Therefore, Toprak and Miller's presence on the Jerez track on the final day of testing was a major focus for the technical team and analysts in the paddock. From early morning, the atmosphere in the pit lane was bustling. Technicians were seen making final preparations before the bikes left the garage. The relatively sunny weather and stable track temperature provided ideal conditions for the riders to conduct various test simulations. Toprak Razgatlioglu was one of the first riders to exit the pit lane. The Turkish rider immediately began the session with several installation laps to warm up the tires and check the initial response of his V4 bike. After the first few laps, Toprak began to increase his speed and completed a longer run program. Observers in the paddock noticed how Toprak's distinctive riding style began to emerge on the track. He remained aggressive when entering corners, especially under hard braking, which is one of his main strengths. With the combination of a V4 engine with a different power character than an inline engine, and the use of Pirelli tires with their own characteristics, this testing session was crucial for Toprak to understand the limits of the bike's performance. The main focus of Toprak's testing was the bike's stability under deep braking and traction when exiting slow corners. This was crucial because changing tires can affect many aspects of the bike's performance, from initial grip and cornering stability to tire durability over long runs. Meanwhile, on the other side of the garage, Jack Miller was also preparing for an equally intense testing session. The Australian rider is known as one of the riders who is very sensitive to changes in tire characteristics and bike setup. For this reason, the technical team relied heavily on Miller's feedback to understand how the Pirelli tires performed under various conditions. When Miller finally took to the track, he immediately completed several laps at a steady pace. Miller's program appeared slightly different from Toprak's. While Toprak focused more on long simulation runs, Miller performed more laps with varying bike setups. Each time he returned to the pit lane, Miller was seen discussing the bike's setup at length with the team's engineers. They analyzed telemetry data in detail, from tire pressure and temperature to the bike's weight distribution during corner entry and exit. Interestingly, several reports from the paddock indicated that the lap times recorded during this test session were quite promising. Although it wasn't an official race session and testing conditions could differ from those of a Grand Prix weekend, the combination of the V4 engine and Pirelli tires seemed to show the potential for quite competitive performance. The engineers were also seen making numerous setup changes throughout the day. The suspension, electronics, and bike geometry were adjusted several times to find the best balance with the characteristics of the new tires. This is understandable, as each tire manufacturer has a different construction structure, requiring a different setup approach. For Toprak Razgatlioglu, this test session was a crucial opportunity to further understand the characteristics of a prototype bike that could become part of the future MotoGP. Many observers believe that Toprak's aggressive riding style, particularly when it comes to hard braking and sliding control, could be an interesting combination with the characteristics of the Pirelli tires. Meanwhile, Jack Miller also made a positive initial impression after completing several long runs. In a brief discussion with his team, Miller reportedly felt quite comfortable with the bike's stability when entering fast corners. He also noted that the Pirelli tires provided a slightly different grip sensation than the tires currently used in MotoGP. However, as with all testing sessions, the main goal of the final day in Jerez was not to chase the fastest lap, but rather to gather as much data as possible that could be used for future bike development. As the afternoon approached, activity on the track began to pick up. Relais. Several teams began to complete their test programs and return to the garage for final evaluations. Toprak and Miller also completed their final runs before the official testing session concluded. The final day of testing at the Circuito de Jerez ultimately provided a wealth of important information for the engineers and development teams. The data obtained from this session will be analyzed in depth over the coming weeks to determine the direction of the bike's future development. For motorcycle racing fans, this test also provided an early glimpse of potential major changes to come. The combination of a V4 engine with Pirelli tires could be part of a new evolution in MotoGP. With riders like Toprak Razgatlioglu and Jack Miller continuing to provide maximum performance and detailed feedback to the team, the development of prototype racing motorcycle technology is sure to continue to advance.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body.